I am Oskar Semweya Musoke in the studio with a trendy Ugandan. His name is Ofwono Opondo, Executive Director of the Uganda Media Center. Very trendy this morning. The Hakuna Matata Uganda hat, Pearl of Africa Uganda shirt. Welcome to Gang and trendy shorts.
Thank you. Somesa, good morning to our listeners of the Capital Gang.
Well,
it is a sunny, bright sunny morning. On
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning on one Cooper Road.
Yes.
Yes.
And those pair of shorts are very trendy. I doubt you bought them.
No, I did buy these. These were brought to me by the son of my father, Honorable Abdu Kantuntu.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, he catches the arm of the plane every other day.
Yes.
Yeah, so he brought this one for me.
He catches the arm of the plane.
or the shoulder at the arm yes. of the plane every other day.
In fact, he's back, so he's back. So he should be in the studio anytime.
Yeah.
The young veteran journalist, Derrick, Wandera, you're most welcome to Gang. Good to have you here once again.
And then walks in.
Thank you, Oskar. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I liked O's shots when I saw him.
Yeah.
I thought he's always trendy every other morning. Wait when he's wearing those overalls. I have spoken so much about the overalls. O will never just put them away.
He had overalls only the other week. Green overalls, South Africa style.
Green and yellow.
Yeah, you know, I don't like being a copycat. Ugandans like you predict them how the necktie, blue navy suit, coat, things like that. No, not me. No.
Not sure.
For you, unpredictable.
Well, in the studio, I have Agather, the Agather ER, Agather Atuhaire, Gen Z journalist, lawyer. You're most welcome to Gang.
Thank
once
you.
again.
Thank you, Oskar.
Please, Oskar,
I am happy to be here.
Don't mislead our listeners. Agatha is not Gen Z.
Oh, millennial.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Millennial.
Yes. I didn't want to correct you so that I feel young, but wouldn't let me have my my moment.
Both you and Wandera here and Nanfuka, you can fit in millennial and Gen Z together.
Really? No, you see, when he says she's a Gen Z, you put her so much far away from me, that I can't be tempted.
And yet you want to be tempted.
I would like to.
Gentlemen, this is a morning show. In the morning show, you hold yourselves together.
Don't sit close to all.
Okay.
And then Abdu Kantuntu comes in with a very fancy attire. Well, welcome back to Uganda, Abdu.
Yeah.
What a shot.
He's traveling around the world on our behalf.
I'll get my producer to take photographs in a minute, so I post and
what a welcome. Anyway, thank you very much and good morning to you and listeners.
Yes. Okay, so let's get to the Uganda Media Center boss. Tell us what's happening in Kenya, Mr. Opondo.
Do I speak for Kenya? I speak
You speak for Uganda. You are supposed to be aware.
I speak for the government of Uganda. So that I'm alive to what's happening in the world. Well, in Kenya, there are many things going on. But I guess what you could be referring to is the changes in Kenya.
Yes, in cabinet to begin with.
As a result of the protests against the finance bill, which the Kenyan people, particularly the young people, say had many, I think 132 new taxes. Most of them they claim would impact on their young businesses, especially those that trade on the e-platform. As a result of that, they took on the government of President Ruto. We saw a number of infractions, including ransacking Parliament, which I think they shouldn't do. They shouldn't have done. But anyway, that's what they chose. And they have kept on the streets generally They have brought pressure to bear collectively, and that forced the president and the government of Kenya to drop the finance bill, which of course has left a financing gap in the budget. He's still trying to figure out how that will be made. And then he thought that once he made that concession, they will give up. Instead, they demanded for more, including him to leave office. And then he has dropped the entire cabinet, hoping to reconstitute it, because part of the complaint was that the cabinet was full of corrupt people who show public opulence using taxpayers' money. They were literally throwing opulence on the face of the young people who say they are going through difficult times. Again, he made that concession, has dropped them, and now he's trying to reconfigure a new cabinet. He says Cabinet of National Unity. I'm not very, very privy to the type of the political internal dynamics that he's considering. I hope he gets what will satisfy this, but I see that every concession will lead to another demand. I am not sure how far he's willing to grant those demands, because now they're asking for appointment of the IEBC, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission of Kenya, which had been disbanded, I think, almost 2 years ago. And let's see how the concessions he makes and how that will leave the political terrain in Kenya and his own future as a president, because they're saying he must go. So probably, does that have any ramification in the neighborhood? I don't think so. Although the issues are similar, the economic issues, the financial issues, the generational issues, here the response is a little different. I think there's especially at the top, the President Museveni, I think he handles things differently. When this kind of pressures come, usually he uses his sixth sense, and he runs intelligence behind those who are confronting him, and before you know, he has quietly dismantled one by one, and then you see people melting away, all the issues melting away, even when probably sometimes there is no real solution he has offered. And let us wait to see. I see young people here mobilizing on social media, particularly on the media, to march on Parliament on the 23rd of July, a week. I think that's about a week away from now, or 10 days away from now. Let's see how that happens also. And they are citing similar things, abuse, governance issues, particularly pointedly to the group in Parliament, the leadership in Parliament, that has failed to, in my view, to proactively be responsive and engage with the demands that the Ugandans are making, because I thought they should have muted this long ago. If they had just said, for example, we have seen the allegations in the media, we have constituted a committee or a select committee of Parliament to examine the reported abuse. But when these things were reported, they said, no, who are you? We can't answer through to what is happening in social media, and so on. And I think they came off as arrogant, as callous. Meanwhile, they throw their opulence in the faces of Ugandans who are going through difficult times. And so I think it is not yet late, particularly for the leadership of Parliament, to step back and say, we can engage with the issues differently. They should be able to climb down from the high horse where they are. and make better responses. I'm beginning to see silence from the reported German Shepherd. I haven't had the German Shepherd backing in the last 1 month. I don't know why, but I really think that our colleagues in Parliament, particularly the leadership, should step back and respond to these things calmly so that the complainants see that you actually care, you have a feeling of what they are raising. Even when the accusations are horrendous, are not true, you should be able to respond to them.
Put out a statement. Such Kubo signatures are not yet, he's missing, I think, 6. And then Parliament has closed so that he doesn't probably get the 6 as well.
I don't know about the rules, whether the rules say you must collect the signatures from within the precincts of Parliament. Or you can follow people. The other day I saw him in Arua. He said he had gone there to collect. So that can't be the reason. Closure of Parliament can't be the reason. But I think it has to do with, in my view, 3 things. The persona of Honorable Sechikubo, in my view. He has an offensive personality that not many people, not many politicians, especially...
He has had many, if only 6 are left.
No, this is what I'm saying. He can have that, but that's why he has taken long.
Yeah.
Secondly, that offensive personality, he has been an absentee member of Parliament.
You thought he's self-seeking.
For the last 2 years, he only resurrected with these issues. And the final thing, in my view, that kind of petition, you can't divorce it from the political rumblings within Parliament. For example, within NRM, in the NRM, the groups in Parliament, those who are in support of the leadership in Parliament, which sanctioned the issue Sechikubo is contesting, are they likely to side with him? Because if they side with him, that petition, you never know where it eventually ends. It could easily end in the doorsteps of Right Honorable Anita Monga and Tayewa, who chaired the meetings. Do the supporters of Anita Monga and Tayewa, who are very many in Parliament, would they actually want to side with that petition? 2, the internal conflicts in FDC. Either way, the ones with the Nandarama 5 and group, would they want to engage with those issues? The conflicts in Nub between the Chagulanyi group and the Mpuga, would they want to engage with that group, with that issue? Probably not. And then the silent majority. You have seen the MPs we thought are in for good governance, the rule of law. You would have expected them to be very robust with these issues. Do you hear them? My father's son, do you hear him?
He excused himself.
My other brother, Okupa, do you hear him?
He has given no excuse.
My young brother, Semweya, do you hear him?
He has spoken.
The Mwanga Kivumbi, you would have expected that these are the people we know in Parliament, that they stand usually family and publicly on abuse, challenging abuse of authority and so on. You would have expected them, but you don't hear them. Do you hear Honorable Nandarama Fabe? I don't hear much about him on this issue. So you cannot, I think Sechikubo's petition is getting problems because of those many issues in Parliament. Now, if it has taken him 2 months almost or more to get 177, in order for him even to go and ask for permission to read it on the floor, how much
he may not be able to get the 6, but the only reason I raised it was not to have a discussion on it. It was because you had decried Parliament not coming out to make a statement and so on. Then I also added on that even one who's trying to get them to speak in the first instance was told to keep quiet, and now you cannot raise signatures.
I have been on this show and others and other platforms, and I've said, although I didn't and I don't agree with the way Parliament handled the issue of the so-called service award, when the commissioners had not been sat in those offices for 1 year, It was clearly an abuse, in my view. The services should have come at the end of their tenure. But
if at all.
If at all. But I don't support Sechikubo because of the things I've said here. I said his persona, the conflicts we have had with him, unnecessarily in the NRM. So I will not want to lend. I will not want to lend my hand to him. And I told him.
You will not want to lend political support to him.
And I told him when we appeared with him on another platform. I told him I'm going to put all my energy to mobilize MPs and particularly NRM MPs not to sign for him the petition.
Okay. Welcome. Nanfi is in the studio. Marianne Kasule. Good to have you on Young. Yes. Let's go to Derrick Wandera here. Derrick, when OO first decries the lack of a response from Parliament about big monies and so on and so forth, and then at the same time he throws out Sechikubo, and then he blames Semuju. Pardon? You're not particularly blaming him, but you've mentioned him.
I'm not blaming Semuju. We have been on this show and he has given his reason.
Yes.
One of the people was his OB. Is his personal friend.
Is his brother.
Is his brother. My brother here has made an excuse. He says he's the chairman of a committee of parliament.
Your brother here.
Where this matter could easily end for him to attend. So, and yet I thought maybe he should actually deal with it now, so that when it comes to the committee, he can recuse himself.
Does it work that way?
Derrick, you're on mic.
Does that
you're
work?
on mic.
Come on.
He's saying this with a big smile on his face.
OO has not redeemed himself. He's still, in fact, I feel he's still in the same basket with Semuju, with the Honorable Kantuntu here and others.
I would wish to agree with you.
And that doesn't help much.
Why?
Because
he doesn't like Sechikubo.
Because what
and whatever Sechikubo does, he doesn't like.
Feel
the substance is not whether you like Sechikubo or not.
But yes.
He's a problem. He doesn't like somebody. If he doesn't like somebody,
I feel.
And if he likes somebody,
when Honorable Semuju comes and says I can't blame or I can't attack
someone who's like my brother.
Yes, someone who is like my brother. It's the same statement and same intuition that I get when I hear or saying I have had fights with him, so I can't support him, although he's on the right
track.
Yeah, he's doing the right thing, but I cannot support him because we've had fights.
But let's go back.
Right now we want
0-1.
Right now we want as many voices as possible.
Yeah,
voices which are speaking for the people of Uganda, voices that are speaking to save the monies of Uganda. Voices that are going to multiply Agatha's voice on Twitter and Agora and everyone and all the Gen Zs on Twitter. We want as many as those, but also we want to get the moral support of our elders, the OOs, the Honorable Kantuntus and Oskar. Your voices, we need them. We need to hear them, because I would say probably I have more years on earth than maybe OO by virtue of age. But
from probability.
Yes, but if I hear OO not supporting our cry and our collective voice of saving the country, saving the monies of the country, I feel bothered and perturbed that probably he's not wishing me well. He doesn't wish me to stay in a better country when he's gone.
But Derrick, going back to Kenya,
yes,
on Thursday, early afternoon, I have an alumnus, one of our alumnus sends me a message with President Ruto dissolves the entire cabinet and the Attorney General except blah, blah, blah. And he says, good afternoon, sir. We are getting somewhere. Are they getting somewhere?
The Standard has their headline today as people power. And that reads a lot. It means a lot for any person who is getting into any office of leadership. Here in Uganda, or even in Kenya, like we are seeing, and everywhere, the demands that Kenyans have put on the President, William Ruto, are very tough. Very tough to the point that he might actually concede his own seat and he leaves it.
Really? You think that?
At this rate that he is accepting to do everything.
This is Ruto. No, he's not relinquishing power.
For me, I feel he is moving towards that of course there are things we know of Ruto. There are things he will do, there are things he will not do. No one knew, or no one would have ever thought that Ruto would wake up and fire the entire cabinet, for instance.
Well, how not? Why not?
So
the Nafi and let him finish his submission, then you respond.
And then if we are saying
I see where you're coming from.
Yes.
Because President Museveni would not sack all his cabinet.
Sack anyone. President Museveni would not sack anyone.
Yeah,
Me, I said cabinet, not anyone. You are saying anyone.
Ruto is more of a dictator, if you didn't know.
He is, but he doesn't have.
So for me, this is the sentiment I get. Everything that's happening in Kenya is what ought to happen everywhere, especially in Uganda. That the people are going to raise up and point fingers at the leader and tell the leader, please, can you style up? And the leader will say, yes, I can style up. Because in any case, it's the people that put you there in that position. The problem is that when the Kantuntus and the OOs get into those offices, they forget who actually put them there. They begin speaking down onto the people who have trusted them with power. And I wish the blood of Kenya can infuse into Uganda and percolate into the population. And then we can see how leaders will behave and go into panic mode. We have had so many cases of corruption, and we at some point we actually thought that the entire cabinet of President Museveni ought to have been picked using chains, thrown into the dungeons of prisons in this country, left there to rot for as many years as possible. What happened? Nothing. Why? Because we, the people who speak, are powerless. Kenya's people are powerful. That's why when I see the standard of today having just the words people power and the big picture of William Ruto, I say this is what ought to happen everywhere. For instance, for a matter of fact, we've chosen democracy. And that's how democracy works. If we are going to choose democracy and then work as though we are in a monarchy, then it does make sense. We are always playing double standard as a country. So Kenya should be a benchmark. Kenya should be a benchmark. The only problem is that when you press these people so hard, when they come to you asking and demanding for whatever they're asking for, they will press you as harder. You get? That's why our house, Uganda House in Kenya, was run down, and I wonder why. And I don't know what the OOs are doing about it, or how they are going to respond to that, because it was a real point that they were trying to send to Uganda. It was a message they were trying to send to Uganda as a country, because they haven't attacked the other houses. Why, of all, Ugandan house? So I feel Kenya is doing the right thing. The leaders here in Uganda should go in panic mode and make sure that this doesn't actually come out to happen here.
I didn't, as a teacher of English, I'd mark Derrick here A+ on diction this morning.
First of all, let me just make a clarification.
No, let's get more people on, then you clarify. Agatha, it's your own microphone. And Derrick here says people need to get blood of Kenya and so on. I should tell Derrick, Agatha has been here, and she has maybe blue blood because she's been screaming everywhere, many times with photographs. I saw the one of the commissioners and vis-a-vis a school in her constituency and so on. You've been spitting fire, Agatha. Kenya style.
I have been spitting facts. That's what we have been trying to do, I and my team, for a while now. And for example, the picture you speak of the one of the commissioners is to exactly do that, explain to the people the implications in terms they can understand, the implications of what's going on, which the people that sit in that parliament do not see as a problem. I think what we have in this country is people just thinking life stops at them. If I am in parliament eating, getting 1.7 billion distributed to me and others, the rest can die, and it's a bad thing. I was in Ukraine last year and I came back thinking, why aren't we like that? Why aren't we selfless like these people? Why don't we care about the greater good, one another? Why doesn't a child going hungry affect me if that child is not mine? Because I saw that there. And I've always thought we need that sort of empathy here, like Daud Mpanga has written many times, that until we get that central nervous system to feel each other's pain. And I do not think that our leaders...
Go on.
I do not think that our leaders do not know this. From where I stand as a journalist, I have seen this. I have gone to hospitals and found women dying unnecessarily because there was no anesthesia or surgical blades. So when we hear and see the level of abuse, we want to break it down and tell people this could have resolved this problem for you. When there was issues of corruption were raised, and the speaker and other MPs went to Nyendo and said, it doesn't matter. If they stole, if they were sharing with you. We went and said, okay, let's see how they shared with them. So we started with the commissioners. And in Rwanda, from where Prosia Kampiya comes from, I showed the school, I showed the health center, and she went and kept saying she has distributed this money to all the villages. She gave 300,000 to each village of a quarter of the villages in that country. In that district. So for us, that's what to tell the people of Rwanda that this person got this money, and if it had come to your school here, it would have bought books, it would have paid teachers for your children, which is what the Gen Z in Kenya has done. If you saw how they were breaking down the finance bill and how it will affect the common person. Ever since Ruto came to power, the cost of living in Kenya had been going higher and higher. Now, introducing a bill that requires raising 2.7 billion shillings, Kenya shillings, from taxes, in a population that was already struggling with basic needs, with buying bread or oil or wheat flour. It's what those guys did using social media, Twitter and TikTok. We saw their banners and try to sensitize the populace that this is what this means. I have done it here, no one cares. So that's the difference between Uganda and Kenya. When we are talking about what happened in Kenya and the Gen Z, the difference is not that here we haven't done that. The difference is that Kenya has leaders that care about the concerns of their people. I don't know if they care or if they are compelled to care. Now, for us here, it doesn't matter how much you push. These issues have been there. Remember the walk to work in 2011, which was due to the cost of living. They know they have all the machinery to go and kill people, and life will go, and others will get scared and pull back. Now, I don't know if that's a problem of Ugandans, that they haven't stayed on the streets to die more and more. But I think self-preservation is a natural instinct. We have tried to do that. We have tried to show that, look, this and this is going wrong. And, for our leaders, that the president, every time he speaks, I see someone who has lost touch with reality whatsoever, doesn't know what's going on. So we have tried to say, this is what's going on. Do you know what he does when we do that? On 2 occasions, he has gone and said that us who are exposing corruption are the problem. And a person like that wants us to take him seriously, that he actually wants to fight corruption. He went to Kedea, the speaker's opening of a hospital, I think, and said, Among is not the problem. She has done this, she has done that. The problem are these agents of imperialists and homosexuals. Oh yeah, the ones they call that, by the way. And this government forgets that it has survived on those imperialists, even before it came to power and up to now. He went on the State of the Nation address and made it even further, emphasized the people I need to crush. These are corrupt by mistake. They are corrupt by, I don't know corruption by mistake, by the way. I have always wanted to ask what he meant exactly like by that. And he said, the ones that I will crush. That really shook me, especially because, we step on toes of powerful people. They have lots of money. They buy the security that is supposed to protect us, to harass us. So hearing a president say that, for me, it made me very scared. He's like, this is a leader unleashing a mob on us. Because if the president says, I'll crush these agents of imperialists, and he actually said those who get awards for whatever, or money and something like that. Yeah, he was talking about me. I felt really personally attacked. And I thought that that was reckless. That was something that would make people that have harassed us for exposing how corrupt they are, there wouldn't be any restraint on harming us. And I hope that, like Derrick says, I hope that we can borrow a leaf from Kenya and see that we will die whether we go on the streets or not. We will die in a hospital that has no medicine. We will die on these roads. Have you seen how cars try to maneuver potholes? They come close to each other. We will die by the failure of government or the absence of it. So probably the 23rd will show us if we have got enough zeal to push back and stand our ground and fight for our rights. And if I have another minute, Oskar, I would like
what is happening on 23rd?
The young Gen Z now, the real Gen Z, not us who are old, are planning a march to Parliament on 23rd. I am very sure there will be maneuvers. I've heard about them to stop them, but yeah, that's what has been planned for a while. And I am also proud to say they have been using the information we've provided to show that this is very necessary. I don't know if they have a petition they want to present, but I've seen them talking about a march for a while now. Yeah, so lastly, I wanted to comment on Sechkubo, especially what OO said. So one...
I also have a message here about Sechkubo. Go on.
One, OO said that the Parliament going on recess doesn't affect Sechkubo's... I think it affects the mobilization process. So there was pressure on MPs to sign. The journalists would find them in the corridors and say, have you signed, and that would put them under a lot of pressure. There are some who didn't want to sign at first. Of course, there are those on whom pressure didn't yield, like the one seated just in front of me, but for others it yielded. I was surprised to see someone like Mwanga Chivumbi, who has also been close friends with Mpuga from university days, also signing. So he didn't sign? So no, he signed. So
he's eating.
So that is the issue that being in that Parliament being on was helping on, that the mobilization was easier. But also it has nothing to do with the character of Sechkubo. It has everything to do with the fear, the intimidation, the patronage in that Parliament. That people like Nanfi is saying, who are eating, see no reason to interfere with what's happening or to antagonize that. But also there are some that really, really fear the consequences in terms of what the leadership of Parliament can do to them, in terms of if they will ever be allowed to travel. People have all sorts of fears. I never understand them, but I respect them.
There's David in Kampala says, The David in Kampala says, OO's reasons for not supporting such coup is an exhibition of the same arrogance he's accusing the leadership of parliament to exude. You cannot undermine a good cause on the basis of personal relationship. Abdu, your own microphone. You have not been so impressed with Ruto's concessions.
I don't know whether it is about being impressed. But before I even go to that, I noticed the main subject. You know, if you are...
Their side subjects keep creeping up.
Sure. If you're a liar, it will come straight to your face. And especially if you are posturing. I've had over a few weeks all posturing and so on, but it has eventually come to him. And I know all liars eventually end up in the position OO is in. He has no reason to say, that one couldn't sign because he's a friend of this and so on. Him is saying they can't sign because that one is my enemy.
I don't like his
I don't like him. He even disturbs us the other time. Okay. Just wait. Hold on. You see, posturing and lying will eventually come to haunt you. That's why what you said today, somebody will just rewind and say, what did he say yesterday? And they change the person, and they wonder what has changed since then. But anyway, we are not a subject of discussion. Let's go to Kenya. Oskar.
I like you, gentlemen.
Let me take you. You see, if you have been quite analytical, unfortunately, many people are not. This thing about Kenya, it has just busted. Was it Tuesday or during the election, the first election between Uhuru and Raila? 2007. It ended up in violence. Terrible violence.
People died.
It took the intervention of the British and the Scandinavian country to sort out that problem.
And Annan.
And Kofi Annan. And guys are not even knowing that history. And you know what happened? Uhuru, who was a sitting president, ended up at the ICC. And there was a lot of international movement to sort out the Kenyan problem. Then it came to the second Uhuru Raila. It was again at the verge of real chaos. What happened at that time? Professor Daniel Arap Moi, professor because they used to call him professor of politics. And this is the meeting which preceded the famous handshake. He went to Mama Ngina's house. They agreed with Mama Ngina that they must talk to the boys. So he calls Uhuru and Raila. And he tells them in Swahili, Inchi Kenya ni inchi yangu. Kenya is mine. Inchi Kenya is for my late brothers, Jaramogi and Jomo. Why are you two boys putting it on fire? I give you 48 hours to sort out this nonsense. Because what we are seeing now was going to happen then. It was just on the verge of happening. Do you know what happened, Oskar? And this history is there for anybody who bothers to read or even talk to the Kenyans. What happened? Uhuru and Raila sat within 48 hours and he told them not to gauge anybody except themselves. That's when they went to the Harambee House for the famous handshake press conference. As Uhuru was entering the press conference, he tells his aide to call his vice president, who was then William Ruto. Tell him I'm going to address a press conference with Raila. Ruto asks, said, no, about what? Because he hadn't involved his vice president. He said, no, there are issues they are going to discuss. They said, no, let me talk to him before. He said, he's already in the room. And let me tell you, Ruto was really surprised about that handshake. And eventually, it helped to avert Kenya from the crisis it is. What am I saying?
He was surprised and very annoyed.
And he never recovered from it.
Up to today.
So, what has happened has been building over time. Why? Because Kenyan politics, there are three issues happening now. It's not about Gen Z something. Gen Z, what they have done is to use their platform of communication to the different, groups in Kenya who are dissatisfied. And Kenyan politics is full of tribal. The results of the last election, Oskar, was purely what we would call too close to call. Actually, the difference was 200,000 votes. 200,000 votes. In politics, national politics, that was a draw. So it had to take a lot of ingenuity to have stable politics after that. Unfortunately, the hustler remained the hustler. He didn't know how to handle the politics. So now you've got the Kibera group, you've got the Gen Z group, you've got now the Western Kenya group, all coming up together with different interests. Because the guys in Western Kenya are actually looking at their anti-Ruto, because those ones are Raila home ground. They are still having a grudge of elections being stolen.
Actually, they wanted to capitalize on this.
Actually, that's why they are saying for them, the issue is not even what we always talk about. To them, it's regime change. Ruto must go. So you had all these interests now coming together. However, the Gen Z have helped so much. One, to sort of give it a different face, because nobody is looking at now the other politics behind. These guys are putting up the real reasons, for example, of bloated government, reasons of corruption, which certainly you can talk about, you can go and talk a show like this and so on, because it sells. They will not be talking about, no, this was our time, this man cheated us in election. That is why in one of their demands, they are saying they want a reconstitution of the what? Of the IEBC. So all this coming together, why you were mistaking me that I was sympathetic to Ruto? Ruto has handled it badly, because he just failed to manage the politics of Kenya. And let me tell you, whatever he is, one, he's a first-term, will be a one-term president. I can't see him recover, because I am a practical politician. I am an analyst, and I am intelligent.
Oh.
If you didn't know that.
Okay.
And that is the difference between some of the people who come to talk shows.
But why do you
That-
keep insulting people?
Can
Yeah,
you,
we'll go again.
when Agather says you like insulting people, it's like a mature hippopotamus accusing you of being overweight. Because you do that literally daily. And
Really?
Yes.
We digress.
Okay, I think we do. Let's go back to the issues. So when we...
You're intelligent, that is not. I don't want to contest that.
No, it was a light moment. Can we leave it at that? So, what I was saying, when you look at what is happening in Kenya today, there are a multiplicity of issues on table, and they may not be sorted out that way. They may not be sorted out that way. What I thought at that time, one, there's a lot of politics, and he should have been able to handle. I don't know whether when he dissolves this government, now he wants to handle it with the Raila group to sort out this other component of the Western Kenya. I don't know when he dissolves government and he'll have a leaner government, therefore to address the issues of the what? Of the Gen Z, because those are intellectual guys, they are very intelligent, they know the real issues that they think are created by bigger governments. When he dissolves that, I don't know whether he's talking about the issue of corruption. How does he handle issues of corruption? And let me tell you the problem with Kenya. 90% of the politicians are businessmen. And all these businesses in Kenya are run on corrupt basis. Who gets a tender, what, and so on. It is those in the government. That's why you see that each and every rich person in Kenya today claiming to have a big office, he has a bigger business. And all those businesses are government related. So it's something a little bit bigger. Lastly, Oskar, Kenya is one of the most indebted countries in the world today. In the world, not even on the continent. because I think their GDP to debt ratio, I think, is coming to 75%. So the economics of Kenya is so artificial today. And if you're a leader, you must handle that debt because you are going to have a default on your international obligations. And that will even make matters worse. So when Musoke, I intended to raise 360 billion Kenyan billion, which comes to like how many trillions in Uganda? Maybe 7 or 8. Oskar, that has been part of his planning, and now he has 0. So he must now go back to the budget and do another budget. Let me tell the process of reconfiguring that budget again. It is not as easy as people think. So if you are a politician like Ruto, you want to deliver and point to 1 or 2 things. And if you have a budget that has been cut by 40%, I am telling you not to deliver even on a single promise he made during elections. Saying caught between a rock and a hard place, he is. Cooked, he is.
A submission from Abdu. Namfi, you're on
Yes,
microphone.
Oskar.
You're still finishing up your notes. It's impressive that these days you can make notes and
Gen Z is typing up.
No.
and
Please,
not
we are
echo.
not Gen Zs. Gen Zs are special. People are resigning in Europe from jobs because they cannot manage Gen Zs. So, my dear, those ones you go slowly.
Kibera is even worse.
In your opinion,
I know.
Kibera is
Yes.
even worse.
in your opinion, was it good for President Ruto to sack the entire cabinet?
Oskar, when you even leave politics aside and you see the reasons for the sacking of the cabinet, there was an appraisal last year and most of these people failed. Some of them didn't even know. PSs of ministries didn't know their mandate. Ministers didn't know their mandate. And yet nothing was done with this appraisal. You understand? So there is posturing on Ruto's part. But there is the reality that we live, and this is not even just unique to Kenya. This is the same in Uganda. We have all these incompetent people who sit around posturing as if they are running the country, and yet in reality they are there for their stomachs. And for me, what I loved about the Kenyan Gen Z riots is they're not even about politics, and that is why you saw them denouncing Raila. Raila's, and Ruto getting together to try and solve their problems. They're like, we don't want to. Of course, like Abdu said, there's a part that is political of the certain Western Kenyans who still want the Raila into power. But mostly, it is about what about us, the people whose lives you run. I was in Kenya last weekend, and let me tell you, even the cab driver, even the till person knows what the problems are. They know what they are crying about. They are saying, and for me, the irony is that Uganda, we even have worse problems. And when I see our leaders going to Kyankwanzi to posture as if they're doing something about it, I even cynically, I don't know why they left O behind.
He was there.
Because
he was there.
like, I think is it Edgar Barrow who has said we are sending our problems to discuss our problems? Because Oskar, even when we sit here and OO says, who are we looking to solve our problems, to lead us to what the Gen Zs in Kenya are doing? The Gen Zs in Kenya didn't look at the politicians. You know why they didn't? Because each and every one of them are implicated. If you notice, both opposition and government MPs were actually attacked in these riots. Because we are at a point where, for once, I agree with Lydia Wanyoto when she says we don't even have an opposition to talk about. We just have greedy people who eat and eat. How do you even sit with someone who is driving a car of 1.2 billion to discuss the problems of Gen Zs and people and the poor? Such a person is out of reality. How do you sit with a person who stole mabati? This is the lowest form of theft. They stole, I could equate it to stealing chicken that was going, and goats that were going to the poorest of the poor. How do you sit with them for introspection? Do they even know how to spell the word or what it means, these people? So we kid ourselves when we sit here and start saying that let's look at the MPs, let's look at Semweya, or let's look at Abdu, let's look at Ofwono here, who will use any flimsy excuse to get himself off the rack. It's madness. Ofwono is well off. Ofwono is eating, and as Baganda we say, people usually don't speak when they have food in the mouth. These people are not going to speak for us. These people,
Except bad-mannered ones.
except bad-mannered ones, where the food is falling out, but they're still chewing. But Oskar, what I'm saying is, we look to the wrong people. If we think Sechikubo, who can hardly represent his constituency and has a political agenda, is our savior. I saw the Vice President, Gachagua, trying to hijack the Gen Z cause and trying to speak for them, and they were like, no, sit down. You're all part of the problem. And this is our problem. After 40 years of systematically choosing the worst route in the public, of choosing the greediest people, who we see day in, day out, throwing their lavish lives at us. You think then we are going to go to the very same people? They
Continue.
Of course they rigged. No, nobody. I will tell you, most of us don't choose these people as MPs. What I'm saying is the leader of the country sits down and looks around the room, sees the worst kind of person, the greediest, most incompetent, least educated, and makes them the... I will not mention positions for your sake.
Positions maybe, but you should see the NRM primaries and how brutal they are.
I know, but you see, you know why they are going there? Because everyone knows it's about eating. So these people who are full of food in their mouth will find all excuses. And when Agather here says some of them are intimidated by that parliament, no, they are not. They are just protecting their loot and what they've taken so far. And they are just protecting their opportunity to loot more in the future. So don't even believe that any of those people are being intimidated by anybody. That whole lot right there is just there to steal
Agather
and
was speaking
eat and
in
eat.
tongues.
And that is why we had the budget mess this year. Because every one of them...
I don't know what Nanfi knows. I know what I know. And
Okay, yes, yeah, maybe you could... no, I refuse to say any of them is intimidated. You say these greedy people. They're not. They're just protecting their little that they have in their corner. So they will steal this and steal that, and even people in the opposition sometimes that we see crying for us.
Whether he's intimidated or not.
Oh, greedy. Because those are the two options.
Those are the two options.
Are you intimidated or you're greedy?
And this is why you've seen that Ruto's
Abdu, it is happening in the studio. All the young people at the other side, and we the oldies are this side.
Yeah, there is one who thought was a part of them. Poor him.
No,
Come on, go,
Nanfi,
come on, go.
Because he's been part of this for the last 20, 30 years.
He's now
so
running
at this
away.
last hour, he cannot run away when he's even running with the loot on his back. You will fall with that luggage that you're running away with.
And now
So
he
you be
can't sign
careful.
petition.
Now he can't sign Sechikubo's
Because
petition
he hates
because
him.
he hates him.
You guys.
Because you see.
He said he was going to use
To
all the
mobilize.
strengths he has to mobilize.
Because
Why you
Oskar
talk
has a lot of
about
power in
Agatha?
NRM. If he wanted, he would get those 6 people for Sechikubo overnight. But all of us hold our noses and do things that we don't need to do. But you will not. You know why? Because you're running with the loot on your back, and that loot will get very heavy for you and will fall on you and kill you eventually. So, Oskar, for me, the issue we have
killing
here...
actually is not what it's not literal. It's
No,
No, it's figuratively.
It's figurative.
All of them.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just want people to know that
And
Nanfuka is using some of these words figuratively.
Yes, because I don't want dead, but figuratively it will kill him, and he will wake up in exile somewhere.
I am your lawyer.
In Kapelebio, not understanding how he got
the
there.
loot on my back? Is it also figurative?
That one I'm not sure.
But Oskar, what I'm saying
Just
is,
quickly and we
you
stop
see,
for a break.
I've listened to Ugandan politicians, some of them hiding their heads in the sand, saying what is happening in Kenya cannot happen in Uganda. But let me tell you, it can happen because what happened in Kenya was not even pre-planned, as you think, as the riots last year. Ruto saw riots last year. decided they were political and didn't make the changes that he needed to make, and wrote them off as these are disgruntled Raila people who I will deal with time. But let me tell you, Oskar, right now, there are people, even in government, many people who are disgruntled by the status quo. So when we see people, the most incompetent lot, sitting in Kyankwanzi to try and solve problems that they created, then for me, the irony is lost on them. Because if the best thing we'll do is to just close Chankwanzi, lock them in, and then someone feeds them for the next 50 years till they are till they are out of this world. Because those right there are the people who should be leaving power voluntarily, but they can't, because if you're wearing clothes of $20,000, why would you leave power? You know, if the roads to your home in the village in Bukedea are better than the roads in Kololo, a posh suburb.
In Kamwocha here, where I pass, coming.
You live Kamwocha. I was driving through Kololo, and I was like, the real estate in Kololo is more expensive than real estate in most parts of even Florida. And yet, when you look at the roads, you would think you're in Nawedu or somewhere in Deva. And these people live even in those places. But you know why? They will, even the money, I saw some of the statistics of the money we take for debt. Even the Kenyans, Gen Zs, they broke down what they use the money for debt for. The debt that they want them to, because that 27 billion Kenyan shillings that they were raising the money for, actually that was the idea of the IMF, which is another problem Ruto has. His marriage to American IMF is a huge problem which he needs to look into. Hopefully this is the right time. But you see, that money was to pay debt because Kenya is bulging with debt. Okay. And when you break down what they use this money for, you will see same things. They are Lubowa, their Mabatis, their
thank you,
Rocco. So at the end of the day, we have the same problems.
Yep.
And trust me, when Gen Z in Uganda happens, it's not going to warn you.
Thank you.
And you better fortify your home.
Moses
there.
Yaruhanga here says the 360 billion Abdu is talking about that Ruto was hoping to raise in the finance bill is equivalent to 2.8 billion United States dollars. How will he now raise it? Welcome back from the break. In the break, the level of noise was high. Uganda Matters University, this is a good time to give it a mention because he invites applicants for both undergraduate and postgraduate programs for the academic year 2024-2025. A bachelor's degree is needed for a postgraduate program, and for undergraduate, you must have a minimum of 2 principal passes. You can visit them at Nkozi, Rubaga, Fort Portal, Masaka, Mbale, and Ngeta, or call them or go to their website. Welcome back from the break. For a bit of quietness, let me start with you, Derrick Wandera, before I go to OO. And let's reserve all Kenya, unless you are referring to them as we move on. We can have them back in conclusion, because I see you're ready to attack OO and Abdu again. So let's go to Kyankwanzi. I did a bit of work just to frame that topic. Introspection that Nanfi says she's learned how to spell. So is the Chankwanzi retreat, will it reset service delivery? But also the question of the public mood. So do they recognize that public mood, especially against them, is high?
But we don't have a precedent. Since when have they been there and probably thought about the well-being of Ugandans? None.
Oh, that's what you think.
So we don't have a benchmark. We can't say like they sat the other year, then they came out with strategies for Ugandans. All they are doing, and I've said this on other platforms, but they have gone to rethink how they are going to steal better, because now we have understood all their ways, and that's all they are doing. I wrote a story. I did an investigation in 2021 when they sat to do, there was a supplementary that was supposed to be given to State House, and the MPs had refused to give that supplementary, and they went into that that gathering they are right now, and they said, okay, now if you allow this, you will also get a share. And they came back clapping, and they took each 40 million home. Am I lying? Honorable Kantuntu.
He's not in NRM.
No, everyone did, even these ones who are in opposition also got the money. Actually, my story was based on opposition, and then, of course, the other one is you. It was obvious. So I know for sure that they are going to cut deals there, and they're going to think how better they are going to steal, because then most of the ways they've been using now, we have understood them.
I should give you a correction. This time round, it is said that they've gone to look at their failures, what has not worked. They want to see how they can improve public service delivery.
No. They have gone to look at their failures, how they have been caught stealing, and then devise better means of
more subtle ways.
Yeah, more subtle ways.
Information. So when we exhibited how the Speaker of Parliament receives money through accounts of her subordinates, they sat and said, what do? We are now going to start withdrawing directly from Bank of Uganda. So Derrick is actually not lying. They sit and say, if they have caught her, we are getting money. Let's devise different means of getting money.
If the country, if the leadership of the country was for the people, we would be getting better, fresh health policies, education policies, and things around roads, road constructions, and things like that, and looking at the poverty that is killing people across the country.
Okay,
but you
Derrick.
certainly will not hear some of those things coming out. All they are going to come. It's always a monologue, like I've said. When you go there, you listen. It's only one person speaking, and the others who want to speak, who get the chance to speak.
I know that this time around they've talked a lot about corruption.
They will be kneeling down. I saw some ministers kneel down while speaking.
Let's go to he was there.
No,
He returned yesterday I requested him to return yesterday to come to Gang.
Well,
So you've had when people talk about public mood, Derrick Wandera expresses
good to
it.
have naysayers. I want to believe that over the years, NRM has disproved naysayers. There are those who said NRM wouldn't even last a month. Naysayers.
Oh.
Naysayers.
It's called mother tongue.
Yes.
Where are you doing?
Yes.
Go on your microphone is on.
So,
But raise it a little bit. Yeah.
we have
Excellent.
consistently disproved them, including what Agather referred to, the Walk to Work 2011, because
Those are political.
superficially it was about high prices of goods. At that time, sugar was 11,000, and now it is 3,400, 5,000. So we have disproved.
But on that one,
No.
you didn't disprove it in discussion. It was brutality.
No. Through policy measures, the prices of sugar have come down. Inflation came down and stabilized. We disproved the Honorable Mao over the war in the north, and today you know where he is. So I want to believe that our routine going to Kyankwanzi hasn't all been in vain. Yes, the public expectation may be very high, raised by ourselves, but we move at a pace much slower because of a number of reasons. Some of them credible reasons. I mean, if you don't have resources, if you don't have the manpower, the expertise to do certain things you want to do, maybe our shortcoming has been failure to explain persuasively why we can't move at pace faster than we are moving. But our retreats in Kyankwanzi haven't been in vain. There are many resolutions we make. You may disagree with, you don't like. We have been to Kyankwanzi and we came back and changed the constitution, as everybody knows. We removed the term limit. We removed the age limit. Many people disagreed with it, but thankfully, majority of Ugandans agreed with it. No, you spoke.
People,
Young
let's
man,
have.
you spoke. I listened to you. If you want to heckle, we can heckle. No. I get irritated when I listen to him stammering, and so anyway.
Continue.
So some of the resolutions may not amuse some Ugandans, but thankfully, I was saying many Ugandans agreed with us. The reasons they voted overwhelmingly for the NRM at all levels. Nanfi may disagree. She will say we fidget with the ballot box, with the results and so on. That's up to her. That's up to her. But Oskar, I had thought I needed to just respond quickly to some of the factual things so that the public doesn't. When our Uganda house in Nairobi caught fire, the PS Foreign Affairs caught fire. Caught fire. Honorable Bajire issued a statement. The Kenyan government did issue a statement that the cause at that point couldn't be determined definitely. What was found on site was that there was a canister, gas canister, that had been lobbied by the police, hit something, and the house caught fire. And there's investigations going on. I cross-checked on Thursday with Bajire in Chankwanzi and said he hadn't been given a report, and therefore he cannot say with the finity this is what caused the fire. And so it is speculative. Secondly, a statement was issued. I don't know if Wandera has any other statement, other information. I doubt if he's competent to know the actual cause of the fire. Now, the route between the Kyankwanzi is for introspection. It is an annual thing. The only years we have not done so was 2021, 2022 because of COVID, and last year because of Ebola in Kagadi, Mubende area. Those are areas that surround Kyankwanzi and Chiboga districts. So when we go to opportunity this year that things are much better, we have gone on a retreat of the cabinet, of all permanent secretaries and CEOs of government agencies, the parastatals, UNRWA, UCDA, and so on and so forth. What does introspection mean? You can check in the dictionary, but the long and short of it is that we have gone to examine ourselves. What is it that we are not doing right? That even when we think we are putting a lot of effort, and a lot of effort including resources, money, and personnel, why is it that certain things have remained undone, have remained eyesores? And you get the sense, and this sense is being felt by the entire government, that Ugandans are disappointed, are angry, that certain things are not moving. There's everybody sees lethargy, inertia, and so on and so on. And then, of course, kept with obvious abuse all of us have talked about, which many people call corruption, small and big. Of course, if you're from the outside, you will ask, why would the president entertain a minister his own government has charged before court of law, and is in front of him every man in the cabinet? I mean, an average Ugandan, not even average, somebody would ask, if you have taken Amos Lugorobi to court over Mabati, why would you keep him in the cabinet? And Ugandans are right.
Go to retreat.
Yes, Ugandans would. But that explanation can only be given by the president. I want to believe that part of this discussion is part of the pressure that we, in a democracy, that we Ugandans are giving, so that the president feels that that decision to retain Lugorobi perhaps isn't amusing many Ugandans. And I hope that eventually he will yield. And there are many people around whom corruption allegations have been swelling. I want to believe also again that out of this retreat, I can tell you I was there. I came back on Thursday night. There is hard talk. I can't say it, but I can tell you, if you listen to what the head of public service, Ruto Nachobe, told the ministers in their face. I don't want to repeat on public radio, but also the way government operates, you can't do so. I can tell you, ministers to ministers, PSs to PSs, because apparently they know each other what they are doing. There is hard talk there, I can tell you. I remember somebody even asked them, but you mean, yes, you mean you come to cabinet every day in Entebbe only to take tea and eat lunch? After the cabinet, you don't. The issue you had raised about the president repudiating the finance, the appropriation bill. Ministers asked, PSs asked, how with the cabinet of 82, with the way procedure of budget, how can you go back to it is the president who discovers that the budget is distorted. You, the ministers, where were you? Yeah, yes, this is no. I'm telling you what is in Kyankwanzi. Ministers are saying, you, the ministers of finance, where were you? You attended the budget meetings. You attended the secret committee meeting, back and forth. They gave you 4 days after the budget, and so there's hard talk there. I want to believe that there will be a change. There will be change. Maybe not to the expectation. Maybe not the expectation, but I can tell you there's hard talk. Yes, I have seen a Chike post by lawyer Edgar Tabaro. He said Uganda's problem have gathered in Chankwanzi to discuss the problems they caused. Yes, I want to tell you. Yes, Chike, but Tangini Chike. Yes, that's Chike. I can tell you the president and this issue of corruption. In fact, the president said that you ministers and PSs, this corruption wouldn't be talking about it if you were not. Some of you are not traitors. Now, by the time the president says so, that some of you are traitors. If you are not traitors, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't expect. If you have heard your appointing authority referring to you in those terms, I expect, first of all, ministers and PSs and senior government officials on their own, one, to change drastically the way they do things, the way they interact with the public. But two, we say shame is a revolutionary virtue. I expect that some of them probably, when they return, they'll quietly hand in their resignation.
No way.
No. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Shame is a revolution. Shame. No, I don't want you to put your little money. I know the other day you lent me 10 million. Maybe you have, but I am saying shame is a revolutionary sentiment. I expect that some of them, from what they have heard from their own colleagues, should be able to come and say. They may not say why they are taking leave, but I expect that some of them, maybe one or two, I expect that some of them could take that direction. Of course, if they don't change. They don't quit by themselves. One would expect that their appointing authority will fire them. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Conclude.
But I want to agree with both Nanfuka and Agather about what's going on in the country, not just Parliament. There are people they are leaders. I want to say leaders who are intimidated by the aura of their bosses. In that parliament, there are people who think that if I criticized what's going on in Parliament, I will not be given a committee to chair. Because chairing a committee comes with additional pay. There are those who think that if I criticize, I will not be given a trip. The other day when we went with the president, by the way, to Russia, I saw a minister whose name was on our itinerary. They didn't turn up. I didn't see them in St. Petersburg. On my way back, I find the person in Dubai. So I said, but you were supposed to be with us. I said, no, I couldn't be with you because I didn't want to jeopardize my visa application with the US and Canada. That's a minister. So there are people who are intimidated by the boss they want. When we sit in meetings with the president and you put up your hand, you want to speak your mind, there's a colleague we sit usually together. They keep stepping on your toes. Please don't raise that matter. Don't raise. So there are people who are intimidated, including in parliament. However, there are also people who know the truth, but because of greed, because of self-interest. So both things are in play. Greed and intimidation. There are people who, there's even one MP who told me, for me, I don't even want the speaker to send me to Europe or to America. Because when they send me to America, the $750,000 per DM, per night, per day.
$750,000.
750. No, 750 per day. I think.
Ask me, I tell you.
Okay.
How much is it?
$720. Okay. No, that's not far from 50. So there are people who tell you, I don't even want the speaker to send me to Europe because I will spend all the money. I want the speaker to send me to South Africa. He sent me to Kenya, so that I spend, because in Kenya I may find a Uganda, I will go and stay with
a relative.
So both good, but I think people conveniently use the intimidation to hide their greed. For me, I've been asking my colleagues in Parliament, the friends in Parliament and in the cabinet, says, okay, supposing you stood up politely and disagreed with the president in the cabinet with discipline, or in Parliament you disagree with the speaker, will the speaker kill you? The best she can do is to deny you a trip. Would that kill you? So people use the word intimidation to hide their greed and lack of principle and incompetence. And I think one of the things that NRM should have been doing, which NRM has not done in a long time, there's no convergence. Because the reason the president deliberately made the Secretary General of NRM an ex-official member in the cabinet is that he should be able to understand what's going on in the cabinet. The reason the president made the government chief whip at that level, they should be able to coordinate. Then you ask, if you look at that cabinet and you look at what's going on in Parliament, is there a discussion, a coordination between the Secretary General, the NRM Secretariat, the Office of the Chief Whip, the Office of the Speaker, because the Speaker is NRM, the Office of the Leader of Government Business, is there coordination? So they are using intimidation to hide the obvious incompetence. That's what we ought to say. So, and a real NRM should be able to admit these things publicly, either publicly if you're not in that forum, or to admit in the forum where you belong. The sense I get is that there is no more candid discussion
anywhere
in many places of government, but above all in the NRM. This retreat, in my view, from what I have listened there, is what is offering people. There are people who are bottled up. They can't understand. I have said on this show and others have said, if you look at in Parliament and you see a minister on the dispatch box, sometimes you get the impression that this minister is not the owner of that docket. You see a minister coming and is fidgeting with the documents, meaning he has not been read, or she has not even read the documents, the technical people prepared. So the NRM, the ministers in the NRM government must do much, much better. And when we return from Kyankwanzi, my expectation is that they should, if they want to continue in the government by democratic means, they must change, and change drastically and quickly.
Thank you. Agatha. I had to give a lot of time because he's a lone NRM person.
I just want to conclude I wanted just to conclude that I also want to believe that when Nanfi said killing, she meant figuratively.
No, but that is already sorted out.
And also the loot on my back is also figurative. Because as everybody can say, my back has no heavy load on it.
Ofwono knew while you're running. You wait.
Okay. Kyankwanzi retreat. What are your expectations? As OO has said here, that they've had vigorous discussions.
I have no expectations from the Chankwanzi retreat. I would be very, very surprised if there's anyone who has, actually. So when the NRM government that OO speaks for came to power 38 years ago, fighting corruption was number 7 on the 10-point program. And since then, it has been sung as a song every day. So you talk about it, but your actions are totally different. We have so many anti-corruption laws and so many anti-corruption agencies and institutions that we spend a lot of money on. One of the laws says that if someone is convicted of corruption, they can't hold public office for 10 years. There's a minister in cabinet right now who was convicted on her own plea. No one even had to, you can't say, Alice Kaboyo. By the time she was returned to cabinet, it was not yet 10 years later. No, it wasn't. We can check when she was convicted and when she returned to cabinet. Please, you cross-check. I checked it when she was made, it was 8 or 9 years. But you also have those that we talked about here that are in court and no one has told them, step aside or let me get you out of my cabinet as you prove your innocence or as, you are absolved of wrongdoing. But you also have how he recycles the same people that have been involved in corruption. And you have how he goes and defends them and says people are corrupt by mistake. Now, how does a person like that expect us to believe that they want to fight corruption? Except to duplicate and every day. I don't know why you guys have not yet talked about the other agency that was formed in Kyankwanzi. Makes them like 30. It's an audit agency, a State House Audit and Accountability Unit. So you have one, that's the other thing. You have one, no, that's a different one, the tax agency, where Karemera is another convict of corruption, has been put there to lead it. Then you have another one that was just formed about audits. You have the State House Anti-Corruption Agency, you have the Investors Protection Unit. And you ask yourself, so you're protecting investors from who exactly? From your ministers, actually. So I really would be surprised if anyone has any hope or expectations from Chankwanzi in as far as fighting this corruption. There's no political will whatsoever to fight corruption in this country, because the president reaches a point and says, because when he brings back corrupt ministers and they says, but the people of Rujumbura, Chigezi wants a minister, as if in Chigezi, that corrupt person is there who can be appointed minister. And that has been going on for, like I said, the last 40 years they have been in power. I think Ugandans at the end of the day will have to be the ones to, maybe stand up the Kenyan way and force this government to fight corruption. When you look at the opulence, the wastage, I have seen the president has realized that we lose 10 trillion in corruption, but we have talked about the cost of public administration. The more we talk about it, and he comes and says, let's reduce on this wastage, and tomorrow he will appoint assistant RDCs. We have a deputy RDC, an RDC, a deputy, and 2 assistant RDCs.
The assistants and the assistants.
Yeah, so then he will create another unit. So first dissolve the anti-corruption agencies you have, the IGG, the PPDA, if you think they are not doing anything, and then appoint those ones. At the end of the day, it's really a mess. It's leaders that either don't know what they are doing or don't care about fighting corruption, because they are thriving from corruption while Ugandan children starve and fail to go to school. For them, they are sending their children to Ivy League schools outside of this country. They don't care about the schools in this country, whether they go down the drain. While we fail to find medicine in Mulago, they fly to go and seek treatment outside. And I think that's an issue of people who will not talk while eating, like someone said here. So those that are not eating will have to be the one to talk or do something more that will bring about some reforms, at least meaningful reforms in this country. Yes.
Abdu, Agatha says, if anyone has any expectations, she will be surprised. Do you have any expectations from Kyankwanzi?
Yeah.
Okay. Except expectations of what?
Of goodness coming from Chankwanzi. Introspection, yes.
There's going to be some resignation.
First of all, he hopes. He said he hopes. I don't know whether he has some information which is deliberately withholding, pointing to those.
Pointing to the resignation.
To resignation and so on. But if he doesn't...
Because it is not natural.
Yes. Actually, it would be very surprising. That's for sure. But let me say one thing. Whatever said, each institution at some point, especially the government of the Republic of Uganda as it is now, would need self-examination and reflection.
Introspection.
In one word, introspection. An institution. Because can anybody sit here and say things are okay? Really? Any serious Ugandan sit here? No, things are fine.
No.
Can
yeah.
I didn't say you
there's one Ugandan who can. There's one man who can. Moses Byaruhanga.
No, actually, he may not say so, but he knows it. And he thinks it can be handled differently. So if these people have gone back to a retreat and say, what is happening? Because, sometimes if you're a leader, you are detached from the reality. Why? Sometimes, Oskar, I get this feeling. I interact with so many people, where I wash my vehicles and I talk to those people. I don't go to posh restaurants. I go there, I talk to waiters. There are people who don't. They're just up there, they're in Sheraton and blah, blah, and so on. So they don't know what is. And then they don't even read, by the way.
Their police escort does not allow them.
Where do they interact with the public? They even don't read they are not on Twitter. Let me ask.
And they don't read Wandera's articles in the Monitor.
No, on Monitor they may.
Yeah.
But Twitter, look, I sit with them. How many ministers have got accounts on Twitter? There is one thing which they loved so much, it was Facebook. On Facebook, they're all over the place. Others actually go there for social purposes.
But Facebook was closed.
If you don't know how to get it, but some of us know. We still have Facebook. I mean, that's, So others go there to pose, kissing boyfriends and taking selfies and so on. That's the purpose of social media. But there are a section that actually listens. There is a section that reads what the Agathers are posting. And maybe if I may be tempted to believe really, this is a real temptation to believe
to believe what particularly?
That yes, that one I'm not by any stretch of imagination. But people have talked candidly to each other. Some people, it is possible in a situation like that, where people are saying, no, you guys, we are looking very bad. So what do we do after? But 80% of the people there, I don't want to use some of the languages my sisters use, that may not be their priority. To say it differently. So the challenges are there. The country is facing some challenges, especially things of unemployment, things of poverty, public infrastructure. It's there. We all see it. We don't have the best health services. When people are lining up to your gate just asking for 3, 5, 10,000, 20,000 literally every day, whether home or here, you certainly feel it. Because, why should a man married come to your house or to you and say, Mpaye mitwale ebiri? 20,000. You just know that the situation is not what? good. It's really very bad. So my only hope is they are listening to each other. My only hope is they have carried the message that is going on in the public, and they are busy discussing and say, what do we do? I will never, Oskar, when I was aware when they had brought this appropriation bill and sort of prioritize and do a reallocation. But the issues where we are putting the money, and I thought maybe my brother or here, my brother or here would be able to talk about it. The places where we are placing this money, where the priorities. Really, we needed ambulances. You know, we are talking about places without seed schools. Mm-hmm. And this is where we had reallocated this money in our silly thinking as Parliament. Say, well, then they say, no, those are not what? Priorities. That money should go in a different place. You know, those are the sort of issues, and I must talk about this, Oskar, before I get off of this microphone. Let us look at this budget process. It starts with what we call a budget framework paper, which is the proposal of government. When it comes to us, yes, when it comes to us, we invite the ministries, all those permanent secretaries and ministers seated in Chankwanzi come to this committee, all of them, and they say, by the way, they are unfunded priorities. We request you to get us money here. And that's where we have even these other challenges which come in. Themselves who have been in the cabinet, and this is supposed to be the only what? Document. They come to Parliament, they say, no, those are not the These are the what? Priorities. A cabinet paper comes to Parliament, goes to committees, and ministers who sit in the cabinet and permanent secretary come and tell us different priorities. And upon that is the basis upon which committees now propose changes, where the ministers and permanent secretaries have interacted with Parliament. Do you know what happened? Now the president comes and said that those are not my changes. But these are cabinet proposals and priorities. You need a retreat, but the only problem, I don't know the resource people there.
No, one person said, you come to cabinet to eat lunch and take breakfast.
But you see, if someone was appointed to eat lunch and breakfast, then why would they come to do anything else? I mean, most of these people...
You're on microphone, Nanfi.
So do anything other than that. These people, most of them were never appointed to do anything other than place sit. And they are doing their place sit.
Did you discuss that? Did you tell them?
No, of course, at that point doesn't. Because he doesn't want to threaten the loot on his back. Remember the loot on his back.
Figurative.
No.
Nanfi, microphone.
Oskar, if this introspection Chankwanzi retreat was headed by Magufuli to sit down this whole lot after research and a report on their performance and corruption in Uganda and speak to them candidly about the status quo, maybe we would even buy it for 1 cent or for 1 minute. But look at the people in this. Let's start with the chairperson of the retreat, who has just looted some money to give to his cronies from the government coffers, 750 billion from ambulances, etc., to give to. This is the person who has made statements of corruption is okay as long as money remains in the country. We are looking at people who have just made statements in Rengo, saying that the looting is okay if they shared with you. What are they going to speak to each other? We are looking at people who stole goats. We are looking at jailbirds like Namuju. They are seated there, and Lugolobi. We are looking at Nabanja, aka Ugandans should make statements at police why they are not getting out of poverty. Look at that whole lot. Who is telling who what? You understand? So for me, they are just posturing because of what is happening in Kenya. And because they know very well what happened in Kenya was far from politics. Because previously, for example, if you found the Basoga disgruntled, you got some not very brilliant Musoga MP, made them a minister, and then you move on. Not very brilliant usually, because no, once they are brilliant, they're not going to last long. Okay. But Oskar, you can't be the very same person who recruits people on the basis of their incompetence. Indeed, you even go ahead and call them my fishermen. And you gloat when the whole nation is telling you, what is this that you have appointed? And then you sit there and start posturing that you're introspecting on how we got here. That is a farce. We are lying to ourselves. We are just doing these gimmicks for the international community. And let me tell you, you cannot fool Gen Z and the imperialists. You can't fool Gen Zs like that. You should see the Kenya, because Gen Zs at the end of the day, after going to the streets, they go back home to their parents who are going to still give them food. So they lose nothing, unlike us who have had to work for everything, and you go back to your home, and if you're demonstrating for 3, look at the traders downtown. Do you know why they caved? They are unemployed. They have nothing to lose. You see the trader there. The trader gave in because after 3-4 days, he needs to go to work for the Gen Z. You understand? But the Gen Zs have nothing to lose. So once they're on the streets and they understand that things could be better, and that is just a timing different. And that is why you see our president, with all his arrogance and knowing that he has maje and will shoot all of us, because our president is the kind who would shoot us and run a country with 2 people if it came to that. Anita and Mong. There will be enough for him, or alone. But let me tell you, at some point,
maybe things would work better then.
When he has 3 people whose lives he's running. So this is a farce. Do they need it? Yes. Are they fooling anybody? No. Because at some point you can't fool them. And I will remind people who keep their heads in the sand, like in government, who think that this cannot happen in Uganda because we are very complacent. Kenyans were complacent at the beginning of the year. They were not on the streets. They were in their camps. They were in their tribes. They were in their political parties. But come last month, they got out of all of that and went to the streets and said enough. And what about that will happen here?
Nanfuka, you're the one queen of conspiracy theories. What about there's a conspiracy theory that maybe this Gen Z was started by Ruto himself to clean out
the people who he was disgruntled with?
Yes.
I do not believe that, because
he could not have cleaned them out.
He was going.
Okay.
So no, I don't believe anyone can take that risk, because it's a
there's
huge risk.
On 3rd July, Ramadan Govi did tweet that the budget already had substantial amount of money for buying ambulances, building and equipping health centers. Maybe Abdu, that's something you need to take up with him. He also, on the same day, he said the budget already had those things. Then on the same day, he said that it is Parliament that passed the 300 billion in 2022 to pay Roko. He tweeted it
tell us
then.
the truth.
Oh, please. You see, you cannot pass money, up front.
No.
He says,
You see what happened.
Let me read it for you.
Yes.
Then you respond. 56.2 billion as payment for the shares government acquired in Roko was approved by Parliament in July 2022.
That is true, because there is a resolution to that effect. But everybody should know how that resolution was reached. Don't run away from it. You get it? Anyway, so everybody should know. And I imagine people like Agather here who follow Parliament should know the circumstances under which.
That's why I said an illegal
Yes, how it was reached.
That's why what?
That's why I said an illegal resolution.
So yes, but that said, we didn't say we are going to buy it this financial year. No.
When
we didn't say
tight.
Because now it is not our priority, because we agreed that if we are to go by that illegal resolution, we agreed that we will have preferential shares within Roko.
So hold on a second. I'm going to
You get it?
Agather, then.
And that was in 2022. But we didn't say it has to be this year.
Okay.
We are out of parliament for
Because
a
it
while.
is not priority. Then Agatha, coming to you,
This year
just
or not
1
this
minute.
year? Is it justifiable?
Just a minute, Agatha, coming to you. Levi Eyaru,
It is very
who is
difficult to
also
justify that
always
or-
on Twitter. He says you are telling lies because Moses Mugarula himself a journalist, came and said he had not been tortured. So he wants you to apologize for that.
Have we switched to a different topic?
No, we are still. People are responding on Twitter to things you're saying. He's trying to prove a case
You want
that
me
you
to
make.
respond?
No, it's up to you.
I want to respond.
And then calls others have called Abdu a serial bully.
Okay.
Because of his
With
intelligence.
the bullying, though.
Is it my turn to respond?
It is your turn.
Okay.
You have just like 2 minutes
Okay. So in 2 minutes,
on Chankwanzi or Kenya. You can relate them any way you wish.
I already talked about Chankwanzi and Kenya. I wanted now to talk about the priorities in Parliament that Abdu speaks about, that they had actually reallocated money to priorities. So there are two problems. That one, Parliament loses the moral authority to do things the right way when they actually, the process of passing the budget is riddled with corruption. It's true that the ministers the MPs that are in court have been involved in asking for bribes from agencies before they pass their budgets. Now, when you go to reallocations, there are some of the areas that were priorities on that 750 billion they had reallocated. But there's some that was just for their personal reasons. This money, and I've been trying to do that on Twitter, when you look at the districts that benefit from reallocations for the last 3 years, they are the same. And they are for people that are very prominent on the budget committee. It is my district, Shema.
It is your district, Shema?
Yes, because Katesh is a very prominent person and close also friend to the speaker. And this is a clique. It's not just the budget committee members. It's the leadership of Parliament. It's Mitoma, where the deputy speaker comes from. It had gotten about 6 billion in these reallocations. And people are saying, but at least you should have distributed to other districts. It's Mubende, where Kabanda comes from. It's Bulambuli, where the MP in jail comes from. Mutembuli. I'm sorry for that mistake. But I have a list that I've shared on Twitter that I can revisit. So now I'm getting these things off head. It's Gomba, the chairperson of the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, which also plays a big role in this budget thing. So that you cannot claim that these are priorities.
I'm sure the way they were redistributed.
No, Bugwell is not there. It doesn't make you a saint, but it's not there.
But no, it isn't there.
No, it's not there. That's why I didn't mention it. So me, I am mentioning those that are there. And
thank you, Agatha.
So, no, let me finish.
Finish very quickly because we are out of time.
The president has also said that some of these do that for their political selfish reasons. The reason there was a lot of outcry and anger when the president sent it back, which was mainly from his NRM MPs, the Ruhundas, so many. There's a woman from Karamoja. It was because these people had already gone to their constituents and said, you have to re-elect me, I've brought a school up. So it was selfish. They were not priorities. It was selfish. So now you lose the priorities in that because you only cared about this Bukedea. There is giving money to Ariong for tractors that they have given to him every reallocation. So it was riddled with a lot of corruption. Lastly, Abdu is a bully. That is very true. I agree with that guy, that person. Abdu thinks he can only be intelligent when others are not. So that's why he comes here and says that the difference between him and us who are on talk shows is that he's intelligent. You can be intelligent with others. We can also be intelligent. It doesn't take away your intelligence.
Well. You want us to start that discussion?
I like the
We
way.
go with the contrary.
I like the way Agatha responds. Nanfu uses bigger words and
that's the other thing.
and
Abdu
insults.
accuses me of insulting people. I want him to get a single
Me,
that I've insulted anyone. Never.
I'll find them for you. Don't worry.
But Oskar, I don't
So-
insult either. But
Sometimes I dash to switch off your mic.
Everyone has laughed.
But
You don't know.
we are coming to the end of the show. You want to make a comment, but as you want to make a comment, I want you to, these last 5 minutes, you make your comment for 1 minute, and I want very quickly people to mention, like NUP writes a letter saying, can we go to Kololo to hold a celebration there? And some people are thinking, how cheeky. Next, they will even want to go to Kyankwanzi.
Well, first of all, I agree with Agatha when Abdu says he's intelligent, but I think he looks at the platform he enjoys every day, which is Parliament. There, maybe he can claim
To be intelligent.
Because he himself has said on this show and Semweya that there are tomato growers there, potato growers.
Abdu didn't say that. That's Semweya.
So, in that respect, yes. Yes, he's intelligent. It can't be a serial liar if you have said you are going to retire from Parliament in 2021 and then you come back, you eat your words.
Changing an opinion. A big deal.
Who's a big
You've
lie?
never
Is a big
changing
lie.
an opinion.
It's a big lie. It's a big lie.
You can't change an
Now-
opinion.
But he had
Again,
through, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Now the
This is the level. That's why I'm intelligent.
the reallocation and why the president repudiated
Somebody said.
the appropriation bill. It is not that MPs were reallocating money to areas where Parliament as a body had agreed as the priority. Like Agatha said, like the president has said, these people were feathering their nests, personal nests. For the last 3 years, the 3.4 trillion they had consistently diverted to their personal constituencies, mainly the clique Agatha is referring to, and sprinkle to members of the budget committee. That's not the priority of the country. If you are disagreed with the priority of the executive, go to Parliament and say, we have examined the budget, you have put more money in donations, you have put more money in where it should not be. We are shifting the money into primary education, into ambulances, into health centers, into welfare of nurses. And Parliament as a body agrees.
We're not even budgeting for it because
Yes,
we have too much.
yes, exactly. So, that committee didn't reallocate the money to the priorities of the country, but feathering this. Now, fishermen, fisherwomen, I think the president has also been misunderstood because he said he was referring to the Bible, fisher of men and women. The journalists and yes, you can accuse him of that. I don't disagree with you, probably, but he said, I am a fisher of men. You may think that Abdu is of no use. And he gave examples. He says that there are people, when he started fighting in the Luwero, or even in 71, there are people you didn't believe they could do anything useful, and they can point. Even in this cabinet of which you have now vulgar said they are fishermen. In any case, fishermen should actually be intelligent. Otherwise, how do they go down in the lake and
Thank
the
you.
seas?
Thank you.
There are many people who have performed beyond expectation, and I think we should give people opportunity. I'm one of those. For example.
What?
No. Listen. When Jacob Olanya, many of us, because of his flourish in the English language, we thought was going to be the best speaker. But when he fell ill and went away for almost 9 months before his death, and Anita Mong became the de facto chairing Parliament every day. For the time Olanya was sick, because at that time there was no deputy. She was the deputy, but also chairing the. In my opinion, for me, in chairing Parliament, the sittings, Anita superseded my expectation of her. And I think
the bar was
no,
too low.
no, and I think and I think that
Finish
partly,
with that sentence.
I think that partly informed why when Olanya eventually passed on and there was a race for speaker, I think her colleague said you have been acting.
She had deserved it.
Yeah, I think in many respects. No, let alone the accountability issues, the money issues. But just sitting there every day, every afternoon with sharing a sitting, for me, being a non-lawyer, being the fact that she had just been she had been a one-term member of parliament, for me, she superseded my expectation of what I had thought. So,
thank you.
So I mean, in that respect, therefore the president says, even those people you say fishermen, you can actually build people.
Thank you. Quick question and answer, beginning with you, Derrick. Can NUP use Kololo grounds for their celebrations or Kyankwanzi?
They are supposed to.
Okay.
But they can.
Whether they can or not, that's a debate. We know very sure.
Nanfi,
one quick comment I wanted
totally
to
out of time.
When OO says that there is hard talk there in Chankwanzi, anyone expects hard talk because President Museveni has been one of the hardest talkers. He has been calling the corrupt people pigs, has been sending
Traitors.
them traitors, has been sending them to hell. I don't know whether he acts beyond.
Nanfi, can NUP on the microphone, can they go to Kololo to celebrate or to Kyankwanzi to train?
In theory,
because they had a training school that has been questioned.
They should be, and I urge them to keep trying to access these locations because these are public spaces.
Okay.
That they should, and I don't think anyone should bully them out there. Will they be? No, maybe police will be there, but this is their role.
No,
to
they've
fight.
written requesting to go.
Yes,
Agather?
they should continue writing to try and get in there.
Agatha?
No.
No.
They cannot.
They cannot.
They will be tear gassed out of
not
there.
Kololo, not Kyankwanzi. Well, they've asked, so will they get a reply saying no?
Yeah, I even think even the response will have.
We'll have no.
We are renovating some excuse.
Okay, Abdu, can I go to Kololo grounds or Chankwanzi?
I think you are being unfair to the four of us, me, Derrick, Nanfi, and Agatha. That question should have gone to the right man.
He's going to speak last.
Because he's the government spokesperson.
So for you, I'm asking an opinion.
Just opinion?
Just opinion.
Okay. To have an opinion, you need a basis. Mm-hmm. And the basis I want to have in my mind is when was the last opposition meeting or rally in Kololo?
Or Chankwanzi.
Or Chankwanzi. If you tell me, then that you found out my
Now,
opinion.
let me ask the right person.
Yes.
So,
well,
is it okay for them to ask to go to Kololo or Chambogo?
I think in 2015, 2014, FDC, then I think led by Genomuntu, or basically I can't remember very well.
It's 2015, it was Genomuntu.
They wrote actually, at that time, Kololo was under the office of the president, which still is. They wrote to have a rally, and indeed they had a rally. Kololo, no, yes, I even went and attended that rally myself. Now, Kololo is a public place.
We are recording these things, so we'll check.
Yes, I'm telling you.
The journalists are here.
Kololo is a public place.
Conference center.
Kololo is a public. No, it was not a conference. It was a public rally. Kololo is a public place. Kyankwanzi is a public place. However, under management, you just don't walk there. Now
you write a letter like that.
If you are saying they have written the letter, in my view, I shame the devil. If you think the government is the devil, write a letter requesting asking to go there, because Kololo now even ask government people, agencies, when you go there, I think they pay 5 million, something like that, for purposes of cleaning and so on and so forth, and furniture and so on. So when you apply, they ask you to pay. For me, I think they have done very well. Let them shame the devil. Let the devil now have flimsy excuse why
Thank
they
you.
cannot allow them.
Thank you, Star Cafe, for powering the gang. breakfast has been consumed very well. Thank you, the gangsters of the day, Honorable Kantuntu, Opondo, Derrick, Wandera, Marianne, Kasule, Nanfuka, Agather, Atuhaire. Thank you so much, listeners. Star Cafe has fed us well. I am Oskar, Semweya, Musoke, and I shall see you next week.